Brian Koziol joining us on the Western Hotline for a bit of a preview on that. And here we go. Good morning, Brian.
Morning, guys. Yeah, I think there's it's right around now, I think, for me. I mean, Pebble Beach last week, that's about the best views we get all year. And then, it goes from literally the quiet, pristine shots of Pebble Beach to this week, as you just played those highlights. And a little Happy Gilmore this week we'll be getting for sure with the crowd on the 16th hole. Yeah. It's amazing every year just playing that highlight that, these people line up at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and then they open the gates and everybody runs out to the 16th hole. It's pretty wild. I mean, it's for golf, obviously, this is as wild as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, if you're outside here today, it's freezing rain, and you turn on the radio, you're like, of course, golf, right, guys? Let's talk golf. I mean, it's pretty nasty outside around here, but, the waste management, it's nice enough weather. Brian, last year, this tournament kind of flew too close to the sun, right? Didn't they kind of decide, okay, maybe the debauchery things got out of hand, and they wanted to scale it back a little bit?
Yes. Last year, they had quite a bit of issues with weather delays. So when you have 400,000 people on all these acres of a golf course sitting there for hours with no golf to watch, you can imagine how it kind of got out of hand. And it was like over 100 arrests last year, and they had to kick people out. And I mean, you see videos over the last few years of people trying to walk from one hole to the next, and if there's any sort of elevation, you can see them tilting because they've had too few many.
Yeah,
it's definitely a different event from any of the others on the PGA Tour. But yeah, last year, I think for the first time, it was viewed in a negative way in some sense by players or from the PGA Tour. Every year it was embraced. It really was. It was like, hey, this is the unique and different event. Players not even minding the fact that guys would make noise, like you see sometimes at the first tee at the Ryder Cup before they would swing. Obviously, the 16th hole is a unique event. I mean, they've essentially turned it into an entire enclosed stadium now. I think they embraced it. I think they said, hey, this is what our tournament's all about. Fans love it. The players, for the most part, seem to embrace it as well. But last year, it definitely got a little bit out of hand, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that there was so much downtime with no golf to watch, and people obviously just had too many and started doing things that maybe they thought crossed the line.
Yeah, the whole thing strikes me, guys, as maybe a golf's canary in the coal mine about how fans want more access and want a little bit looser atmosphere. Like, as you described that, Brian, I'm thinking about TGL and how that has been embraced because we get to see a little more personality, and the Ryder Cup is where you see guys celebrate as a team. And this is just still an individual event, but the loosening up of the hoity-toity kind of golf atmosphere is present here.
For sure. And I still think they want it to be that way. And I think in general, even players over the last month or so, as the PGA Tour still tries to figure out kind of how they want to fit here in the golf landscape with the emergence we know of LIV that we've been talking about for the last few years, TGL now, which obviously has a lane in golf that even was on last night on ESPN, or I'm sorry, on Tuesday night on ESPN. So they're trying to fit in there. Justin Thomas said, look, we've got to give more access. We've got to be more open. I think the tour players know that right now, like YouTube golf's very popular. Some of the things Bryson DeChambeau is doing. TGL has a crowd and a following. They've got to figure out a way to give more access and get crowds involved. I mean, there comes a point where obviously, like, you don't want to literally have players being able to physically, like, touch players in the middle of their swing and impact competition. Right. I mean, the best thing about spectating a golf event, and you guys know because you've been to some, like, is that you literally are on the field. Like, you don't get to be on the ice watching the Sabres. You don't get to be, on the field when the Bills are playing. But, like, for golf, you literally get to be on the field, and that's what makes it unique. Now, in some sense, spectating golf is tough because you don't get to see the entire tournament like you do in another sport. If you're sitting up high in the stands, you get to see it all. So, there's pros and cons of spectating golf, but one of the great things is that you literally can be within arm's length, and for the most part, they trust fans to handle that properly, behave well, and, at almost all events, understand that, look, even though there might be 10,000 people standing at this hole, when the guy's about to bring his putter back, for the most part, I think fans behave very well. The fact, like, it's usually always silent. So in that sense, I want to give fans credit because I think they handle it well over the course of years and years of golf. This event, a little bit different. They embrace it. They want the crowd to get into it. And at times, obviously, maybe it's gone a little bit too far with people being ejected and people maybe, saying things to players that maybe have crossed the line. To me, if it's not physical and they're not saying anything that's like threatening or demeaning in some sense, it's probably all in good fun. But I'm sure I could see where people have definitely pushed it too far that they had to start ejecting people from the tournament.
Yeah. Brian Koziol with us. The field this week, Brian, no Rory, no Xander Schauffele. Is the rest of the field pretty good?
I would say it's okay. It's not an elevated event as it was last year. The tour, because they know the impact of labeling it an elevated event and, of course, increasing the purse size, they know that it's going to bring out the better field. So they've done each year, they've kind of rotated a couple in and out. This year, Pebble Beach last week was an elevated event. It wasn't previously, and the Waste Management was. So they flip-flopped those two this year. So last week at Pebble Beach, you did get, in terms of the major stars, a better field. I mean, there are some star power. You mentioned Scheffler. Of course, anytime he tees it up, it's going to be, something that people are going to want to watch right now. Jordan Spieth is playing. Justin Thomas is playing. Hideki Matsuyama is playing. The defending champion Nick Taylor, the Canadian, is playing. So you've got some names that I think would draw people to watch. To me, even Tom Kim, Max Homa. So there's enough names I think that people will find it interesting. But it's the 16th hole. That's going to be what they're going to put the TV on. It's kind of like at Sawgrass. Everybody at some point wants to watch shots and watch some golf from the island green. I think for me, especially this year, we know how we have Chiefs fatigue, like watching 6 hours of Super Bowl pregame. Like, to me, this is always my Super Bowl pregame, having it on. And they time it out, and they play it early, even though it's out in Phoenix. That usually, the final round ends at like 5:45, 6 o'clock, just about a half hour before the Super Bowl starts. So in that sense, I feel like it's a nice spot to watch on a Sunday, especially before the game starts.
We almost had a fight at our house a couple years ago because the winning putt, I think, was going off at the exact same time that the national anthem was. Maybe Rom was involved in that. So maybe it went a little long a couple of years ago. But I'm in agreement. Like that is my Sunday. I don't need to watch, 6 people on a table tell me the Chiefs are going to win.
And the coolest thing about the whole thing is, so the 16th hole, Brian, for those who have maybe not seen the tournament or tuned in, it's basically, picture if they built an entire hockey arena around a golf hole. Because what's it? It's like 20,000 people in the stadium around the 16th?
Is it that many?
It used to be something where they increased the bleachers around it so that you'd have people up at the green, and then you'd have people back at the tee. But now they've enclosed it all the way around, and there are regular bleachers, there are corporate suites bleachers, but they've essentially turned it into a stadium like Coliseum look to it, and that's kind of what they've called it now. And the Waste Management has even changed their logo and their imaging to all include that 16th, where it's framed all the way around. Thousands and thousands of spectators. The hole they usually can play it somewhere where guys are hitting like a pitching wedge, like 140 some yards. They can extend it all the way to like 180 something. They've got a whole bunch of different sets of tees. I saw yesterday, they actually had a robot out there hitting shots yesterday just to try it out, and then the robot made a hole in one yesterday. So
I feel like I'd be excited to watch that, and maybe I'm a sucker, but that would, even if it's a robot, I would think that's cool.
Yeah.
I saw Ryan Fitzpatrick also.
Where you'll see guys. Sometimes they'll put a jersey on, or they'll put a different hat on. Sometimes they'll throw stuff into the crowd. I know that's been something that's been very popular too. Where they'll maybe even just throw something simple like golf gloves into the crowd, or golf balls, or things like that. So that's the whole. If you're not a super golf fan, you don't watch golf every week, but you're looking for something to watch for the Super Bowl, tune in and just watch 16. It's definitely a different scene like any other in golf for sure.
Very good. Brian, what's the tee to green schedule? You guys are, walking through the freezing rain, but you got to be getting close to season, right?
Yeah, we're less than a month away. We're starting to get all of our show organized. Kevin Sylvester, who last week was doing PGA Tour live coverage on ESPN Plus for Pebble Beach, he's back with us. PGA Pro Jeff Meadis, of course, the best teacher in Western New York. Jeff Blank will be doing all of our social media and all his weekly bets. So if you're into wagering on golf, you can follow him. But yeah, we're going to be back for shows March 1st all the way through Bill season. So we're 4 Saturdays away from coming back. Saturday mornings, our normal time slot, 7 to 8. And we'll be going to courses and golf facilities all across Western New York. So I hope people can tune in. Yeah, March 1st is our first show.
Very good. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Brian Koziol, Tee to Green of Tee to Green on the start of the Waste Management Open.